Coming up on Arirang News, the third wave of COVID-19 in South Korea shows no sign of slowing down as a ban takes effect on gatherings of more than 5 people. It joins other countries in banning flights from the UK because of the new COVID-19 variant there. South Korea's population continues to shrink for a 12th month in a row. This past October saw the fewest births for any October since records began. And the Seoul city government announces a program of low-interest loans to help small businesses hit by the pandemic. It's issuing around $90 million in coupons to bring them more customers, too. It's 5 p.m. here in Seoul. Thanks for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. We start with COVID-19 situation in South Korea. The number of new cases today was back above 1,000. New measures have taken effect today, banning gatherings of 5 or more people to try and slow the spread over Christmas and New Year's. And now South Korea has temporarily banned flights from the UK because of the new COVID-19 variant. Choi Jung-yoon reports.
On Wednesday, South Korea confirmed an additional 1,092 cases of COVID-19. A jump back above 1,000 for the first time since Sunday. All but 32 of Wednesday's cases were transmitted locally. Seoul alone had the most at 373 cases, followed by almost 300 in Gyeonggi-do province, so the greater capital region accounts for some 70% of all Wednesday's cases. Across the country, there are large cluster infections at religious facilities and nursing homes. To stop the virus from spreading during the year-end holidays, the government has banned most gatherings until January 3rd.
In view of this critical situation, we strongly advise everyone not to hold gatherings with more than 5 people, and in the central region, such gatherings have been banned by the local authorities.
Skating rinks, ski resorts, and popular tourist spots are also closed. And to stop the new, more transmissible variant of COVID-19 from Southeast England, South Korea is joining other countries in stopping flights from the UK until the end of the year, and will take other measures after that.
From today until December 31st, we are temporarily stopping all flights from the UK. We will also stop issuing isolation exemptions for UK travellers, who will all have to self-isolate for 14 days and take additional PCR tests after their isolation.
When flights resume, the temperature threshold for having to isolate will be lowered from 37.5 degrees Celsius to 37.3 degrees, and all flight attendants will be preemptively tested. Choi Jung-yoon, Arirang News.
Several high-profile American politicians have been vaccinated, and now the country's top health officials have too. Dr. Fauci got his shot on Tuesday and once again reassured people that the vaccine is safe and effective. Lee Kyung-eun reports.
U.S. top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci got his first dose of the new COVID-19 vaccine. He was among some top health officials who got inoculated at the National Institutes of Health on Tuesday, aiming to boost public confidence in the COVID-19 vaccine. Each received the latest vaccine developed by NIH and American drug maker Moderna, which follows Pfizer and BioNTech's previously released vaccine.
Well, for me, it's important for 2 reasons. One is that I'm an attending physician here on the staff at the National Institutes of Health Clinical Center, and so I do see patients. But as important or more important is as a symbol to the rest of the country that I feel extreme confidence in the safety and the efficacy of this vaccine, and I want to encourage everyone.
Alongside Fauci was NIH Director Dr. Francis Collins. He was confident and hopeful of taking a major step towards fulfilling the Institute's promise of ending the pandemic with the vaccines.
But it's one thing to hear me talk about it. It's another to have me roll up my sleeve and say, I believe that this is the way we're going to get through this. Dr. Balin, bring it on.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar, who also received a shot, stressed that the vaccine had been rigorously tested based on FDA standards like any other vaccine. 6 other doctors and nurses also got their shots on Tuesday. This follows the first wave of inoculations among top politicians, including U.S. President-elect Joe Biden and his wife, and Vice President Mike Pence, who got Pfizer's vaccine on Monday. President Trump, who had been infected by COVID-19, made no comments on his plans for vaccination. The U.S. is aiming to carry out the largest mass vaccination in history to defeat the pandemic, which has killed nearly 320,000 people. 이경은, Arirang News.
South Korea's population has now been shrinking for at least 12 months in a row. Data show that so far this year through October, deaths have outnumbered births by almost 19,000. The number of births and new marriages were also the lowest for the month of October since records began. Kim Jae-hee reports.
The number of births in South Korea in October this year was the lowest for the month of October since data was first compiled in 1981. According to data released by Statistics Korea on Wednesday, the number of births in October fell 14.4% on year to around 21,900. The drop also marks the largest on-year fall for the month of October since the 17.7% decline recorded in October 2001. The number of births in South Korea has been dipping on year for 59 consecutive months now. The total number of births up until October this year amounts to around 233,700. Considering that the number of births tends to decline towards the end of year, the total number this year is likely to be below 300,000. October is the 12th straight month that the number of deaths has outnumbered births. From January to October this year, there were 18,816 more deaths than births. There were also fewer than 16,500 marriages in October, down 19% from the previous year. That's the lowest number of marriages in the month of October since data was first compiled in 1981. Statistics Korea says the pandemic exacerbated the general trend of fewer marriages, as the epidemic caused many couples to postpone their wedding plans.
The number of marriages was down 19%, marking the second steepest on-year decrease for the month of October, following a 21% fall in October 2017. The number of marriages is on a continuous decline. There's also a dwindling number of people in their 30s. Couples delaying weddings due to COVID-19 seems to have had a significant impact as well.
The number of divorces in October was down 5.2% on year to 9,349. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
The Seoul city government has announced a new COVID-19 relief package for small businesses worth some 900 billion won, or about $810 million. Small businesses will be eligible for low-interest loans of up to 30 million won, which is about $27,000. The package also includes around $90 million worth of coupons for the general public to encourage them to buy from small businesses. Applications for the loans and the issuance of coupons will start next Monday. Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Yang Jun-seok, Professor of Economics at the Catholic University of Korea. Professor Yang, good to have you back on.
Happy to be here.
Stocks in New York were mixed overnight, moving towards a stimulus deal, but there's concerns over the new COVID-19 variant. The S&P was down for a third straight session, but the Nasdaq rose to a new high. What's the story in the global markets?
Okay, well, as you mentioned, the S&P fell as well as the Dow index. The U.S. market analysts are counting that with the fall in U.S. consumer confidence. The U.S. consumer confidence dropped for a second straight month in December following November. The index fell to 88.6. That's lowest since August. And the economists actually expected the index to rise to 97.0 in December. So this has been in a sense, double disappointment. The index was at 132.6 before the coronavirus in February. Now, on top of that, tomorrow we may see a decline in the U.S. market, further decline, because, well, President Trump is having a bit of a temper tantrum. After the stimulus bill was agreed by the Republicans and Democrats in Congress, President Trump is threatening not to sign that bill because he he wants higher payment per person. Right now, it's designed as $600 per person, but President Trump wants that amount to rise to $1,000 or $2,000, and to pay for that, he wants to cut other components of the bill. In a sense, he's fighting against his own party, Republicans, because it was the Republicans who wanted lower spending on the stimulus bill. It's not clear whether this is just a threat or whether he'll actually go through with it, but that'll act as an uncertainty in the market. Now for Europe, DAX, CAC, FTSE, they all fell substantially, 2 to 3% on Monday. They recovered about half of that on Tuesday. That's partially because of the new coronavirus variant that's showing in the United Kingdom, which has frozen all transactions, all movement between United Kingdom and European Union. But I think it's also because of the rising concerns about no-deal Brexit. Even before the coronavirus, trucks going from European Union to UK have been stopped on the borders, and it is getting to be very tough to import goods into United Kingdom because of the no-deal Brexit. For Asia, it's been mostly light trading today. There has been no Santa rally that we see usually in the late December. Japan and Hong Kong, it fell yesterday, but it rose a bit today. Shanghai, it rose yesterday and today.
And in Korea, the Kospi rebounded from yesterday's sharp decline. Not so good on the Kosdaq, though. Tell us about the Korean markets.
Okay, well, the interesting thing about Kospi is that it has been rising for quite a bit since October. And then since November 23, when the Kospi hit a new record high, it did not go up every day. But every day that it did go up, it hit a historical high. That trend came to end today, even though the market ended up. Because it fell so much yesterday, it did not rise to a historical high. This is the first time that the up market has not hit an historical high since November 23rd. Now, the major reason why the market rose today, Kospi rose today, is that there is rumor going around that a joint venture of LG Electronics and a foreign company will sell electronic batteries to newly announced Apple electric cars. So that has played a major part in driving the market up today. Now, for Kosdaq, as you mentioned, it's been a continuous rise since December 8th. It may be because the coronavirus is worsening. This is a case where bad news is good news for some members. Kosdaq is mostly technology stock, and biotech and electronics and semiconductors will probably do better if the coronavirus distancing increases and is extended.
Now, Professor, the government has downgraded its growth forecast for the South Korean economy this year from minus 1.1% to a more general minus 1% range, seeming to reflect some more uncertainty caused by the new restrictions in Korea. We're running out of time, but tell us about the risks you see and the prospects for an economic recovery.
Okay, well, the recovery from recession really depends on when coronavirus comes under control. Epidemiologists say that once you start vaccination, it'll take about 6 months to have some kind of a herd immunity. Once coronavirus is under control, coronavirus recession becomes a regular recession, and we know what to do with regular recessions. So once the coronavirus is under control, it'll probably take about 3 to 6 months to get out of that recession, assuming that not too many firms go out of business. But even if we take this relatively optimistic scenario, that means we'll be stuck in a coronavirus recession for about a year. If the vaccination starts next February, as the government has announced, then that means it'll be end of the next year or the beginning of the year after, 2022, when we get out of this recession. So it's going to be a long-term problem. But for the short term, we have gone on to an increased distancing, and it's questionable whether this distancing will end at January 3rd as government hopes, or whether it'll probably be extended, I think. But that is going to be the big uncertainty in the this particular in the short term. And then you have to remember that Korea's relatively good growth performance this year is not necessarily because of any underlying economic factors, but because Korea did distancing so well. If the distancing, even if the problem of distancing and coronavirus is solved, there is still the problem of low growth, fundamental problems that we have seen for the last 3 to 5 years.
All right, Professor, we'll have to leave it there for today. Thanks so much for sharing your insights with us, as always.
Thank you.
Now, the government has released a blueprint for building an environmentally friendly shipping industry in line with the Moon administration's pledge to achieve carbon neutrality. The Oceans Ministry and the Energy Ministry confirmed the plan on Wednesday, dubbing it the 2030 Green Ship K Initiative. The plan includes developing technologies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from ships by 70% and to make more than 500 ships in the private and public sectors eco-friendly by 2030. And that brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.